story one. My mother knew his name. I knew I wasn't going to die the second the gun tapped my window. If he wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. That was the first thought that went through my head. The second was worse. He was listening. Not to me, to my mother. I was driving through the desert, hours from anything, talking to her about soccer like it was a normal afternoon. The road had been empty for miles when two pickup trucks appeared ahead, parked sideways across the asphalt, not crashed, positioned. I slowed down because I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then 3 men stepped out. No masks, no rush. Guns visible but relaxed, like tools. My mom was still talking in my ear when one of them tapped the barrel of his gun against my glass and motioned for me to get out. I didn't hang up. I don't know why. Maybe shock, maybe instinct. I opened the door slowly, hands visible. They didn't shout, they didn't threaten. One of them took my wallet, my keys, my phone. Clean movements, efficient. The other 2 scanned the horizon like this was routine, like they had done this 100 times. The man with my phone got into my truck and closed the door, engine still running, windows up. I stood there in the heat watching him. He looked down at the screen. His thumb hovered over the red button. He didn't press it. Instead, he lifted the phone to his ear. He listened. At first, his expression didn't change. Then his posture shifted slightly, like he had heard something he recognized. His head tilted. He spoke a short sentence in Spanish, paused, then repeated a name. Slowly, testing it. I felt my stomach drop because I knew that name. R. The only name from my mother's past I had ever heard. He repeated it again, this time with a different tone, almost confirming it. The other 2 men noticed something was happening and walked toward the truck. He rolled the window down just enough to speak to them quietly. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw their faces change. They looked at me differently, not as a victim, not as a stranger, as something connected. After maybe 30 seconds, the man stepped out of my truck and walked toward me. He handed me my keys, then my wallet, then my phone. The cash was gone, but everything else was intact. He smiled slightly, not friendly, not threatening, controlled. Tax, he said in English. Then he leaned closer, just enough that I could hear him clearly. Tell her we don't use that name anymore. My throat went dry. I didn't answer. All 3 of them got back into their trucks and drove off into the desert. No plates, no panic, just gone. I stood there alone on the road for almost a full minute before I realized my phone was still in my hand. The call hadn't disconnected. I lifted it slowly to my ear. I could hear my mother breathing, not crying, not panicked, steady. I asked her what she had said to him. She told me she threatened to call the police and that she was tracking my location. Her voice was calm, too calm. I asked her why he repeated R's name. Silence. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then she said, I must have misheard. I didn't mishear. I watched his lips form it twice. I drove the rest of the way in silence. She insisted she would report it to the police. I didn't argue. There was no point. That night I replayed the scene over and over, the way he listened, the way the others reacted. The way they returned everything except the cash, like this was some kind of transaction, not a robbery. The next morning, I checked my call history. The call had lasted the entire encounter, almost 6 minutes. I asked her again days later what she said. She gave the same answer. I asked her directly who R was. She laughed it off and said I was imagining things. But here's what she doesn't know. When the man leaned in to give me the phone back, I saw something on his wrist. A tattoo. Faded but clear. A symbol I had seen once before, years ago. In an old photo album she thought I had never opened. A photo of her in Mexico standing next to a group of men outside a dusty building. One of them had the same mark on his wrist. I didn't say anything about the tattoo. I didn't tell her I remembered that picture. I just started noticing things. The way she avoids certain phone calls. The way she switches languages mid-sentence when she's stressed. The way she never, ever talks about her mother. A week after the desert incident, I received a private number call. I almost didn't answer. When I did, there was silence for a few seconds. Then a male voice said only one sentence. "She kept you out of it." Then the line went dead. I never told her about that call. I don't know if she protected me that day, or if she claimed something she still belongs to. I don't know if I was spared because of who she used to be, or who she still is. What I do know is this: those men were not surprised to hear her voice, and they were not confused by that name. And whatever world she came from, it didn't end when she crossed the border. It just changed languages. Story 2. The tent lit up from the outside. I didn't wake up because of noise. I woke up because the air changed. That's the only way I can describe it. The inside of the tent felt wrong, heavier, like something outside was blocking the wind. My eyes opened slowly, and at first I thought I was still dreaming because everything was too quiet. Then I heard it. A single crunch on dry dirt. Not fast, not light, controlled. Someone walking slowly, not circling, not pacing, just approaching. I didn't move. My girlfriend was asleep beside me, breathing steady. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Another step, closer, then nothing. Silence so complete, it felt intentional. Whoever was out there had stopped. A few feet from the tent, close enough that if they leaned forward, their shadow would touch the fabric. I told myself it was an animal. I tried to believe it. Animals don't stop and wait like that. Animals move. This didn't move. Then I heard the flick. A lighter. Sharp. Mechanical. Impossible to mistake. A small orange glow appeared through the tent wall, about waist height, perfectly steady. I stared at it without blinking. It didn't shake. It didn't wander like someone nervous. It just stayed there, like the person holding it was deciding something. The flame moved slowly from left to right, studying the outline of the tent, measuring it. I still didn't move. I don't know why. Maybe fear locks the body before it frees it. Then the glow brightened, not slightly, dramatically. The small flame turned into something larger. I heard fabric ignite before I felt the heat. A soft whoosh. Then, a second later, the side of the tent flashed bright orange. The heat hit instantly. Not gradual, immediate. I shouted and grabbed my girlfriend's shoulder, and she woke up screaming because she saw fire where the wall should have been. I kicked through the zipper so hard it tore halfway open, and we crawled out as the flames climbed up the fabric behind us. I looked around, expecting to see someone standing there watching. There was no one. Just darkness beyond the firelight. I grabbed the water jug and dumped it blindly at the base of the flames while she dragged our bags out. The tent collapsed inward as parts of it melted. I stomped embers into the dirt until my shoes were smoking. It took maybe 2 minutes to control it. It felt like 20. When the flames died down, half the tent was gone. Blackened frame, melted nylon. Smoke rising straight up into the desert night. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the horizon. Nothing. No footsteps, no vehicle, no silhouette moving away. Just open land in every direction. My girlfriend kept asking where they went. I didn't answer because I didn't know. There were no footprints visible in the hard dirt, no tire tracks near our campsite that weren't ours. We packed in silence, fast, no arguing, no discussion about staying. We grabbed what we could carry and started walking toward where we thought the truck was. The stars were bright enough to see outlines, but not enough to give direction. After a few minutes, I realized we might be walking the wrong way. That's when I heard it again. The same sound we had laughed about the previous nights. A long, drawn-out scream. Not close, not distant either. Somewhere behind us. It didn't stop this time. It stretched on unnaturally long, like lungs that didn't need air. Then a second scream answered it from another direction. Then a third. Different pitch, different distance. Not echoes. Separate. My girlfriend squeezed my arm so tight it hurt. I didn't say a word. I just started moving faster. The screams didn't chase us. They didn't need to. They overlapped behind us like signals, like communication. By pure luck, we saw the reflection of our truck's windshield under the starlight. I have never been more relieved to see metal in my life. We threw everything into the bed and got inside without checking anything. I started the engine and reversed too fast, nearly spinning out before correcting. As we drove away, I looked once in the rearview mirror. For a split second, I thought I saw movement near where our tent had been. Not running, not charging, just standing. I can't prove that. Maybe it was smoke. Maybe it was my mind finishing the story. We didn't stop driving until we hit the main road. When we finally reached gas station lights an hour later, we both realized something at the same time. Whoever lit that fire didn't rush us. They didn't try to grab us. They didn't try to stop us from leaving. They just set the tent on fire while we were inside it, as if the goal wasn't to kill us. It was to show us how easy it would have been. We reported it. Police said it was probably a prank, maybe someone messing with campers. That explanation doesn't account for the screams. It doesn't account for how long they lasted. And it doesn't explain why. 3 nights before the fire, those same sounds had started exactly at the same time. Like something was counting down. I don't camp in open desert anymore. Not because of the fire, because of the timing. Whatever was out there didn't attack the first night, or the second. It waited, and on the third night, it stepped close enough for us to hear the lighter. Story 3. The apartment that knew my schedule. My name is Adrian, and nothing violent ever happened, which is what makes this worse, because it means whoever was inside never needed force. I moved into that apartment in late August, right before starting my new job downtown, and the first week felt normal in the way new places always do, slightly unfamiliar but manageable. It was a 3rd-floor unit corner building, no balcony, just one window facing the parking lot and a narrow hallway that led straight to the bedroom. The first thing that felt off wasn't a sound, it was timing. My alarm usually goes off at 6:45 and I snooze it once every morning without thinking. But 3 days after moving in, I woke up at 6:44 on my own. Wide-awake, heart already racing like someone had whispered something right before the alarm. I ignored it. The next morning, same thing. 6:44, no noise, no reason. Just awake 1 minute before the sound. By the 4th day, I stayed completely still, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the alarm to ring. And I heard something in the hallway outside my apartment, a soft step, and then another, like someone pacing past my door, slowly, and then stopping right outside it. My alarm went off 1 second later. I did not open the door. I convinced myself it was a neighbor leaving early. That explanation lasted 2 days. Then I started noticing smaller things. I leave my shoes lined up near the wall, not perfectly straight, but close enough. And one evening after work, they were angled differently, slightly turned toward the hallway instead of the wall. I stood there staring at them, trying to remember if I had kicked them off differently, and I could not prove that I had not. The next week I came home, and my bathroom mirror was fogged even though I had not showered that morning. Not dripping, not wet, just lightly fogged, like someone had taken a warm shower and wiped the center clear with their palm. I checked the tub, it was dry. I checked under the sink, nothing. I checked the door locks, twice. Everything was intact. I bought a small indoor camera, the kind that connects to your phone, and set it on a bookshelf facing the front door. The first 2 nights, nothing. On the 3rd night, I woke again at 6:44. But this time I did not move, and I did not look at my phone. I just listened. I heard breathing, not inside the room, not outside the building. Inside the apartment, somewhere between the front door and the hallway. Slow, controlled breathing, like someone waiting for something. I stayed frozen until my alarm went off, and the sound stopped instantly. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app, expecting to see a glitch or static, but the feed showed the living room empty, exactly as it should be. I rewound the footage from earlier that morning, and the recording froze at 6:43 and 49 seconds. The screen pixelated for exactly 12 seconds. Then it resumed. Nothing visible had changed except one detail. My shoes were now aligned perfectly straight, touching the wall. I did not fix them that night. The next evening, when I returned from work, they were angled again toward the hallway. That was when I stopped feeling confused and started feeling studied. I began testing small things. I left a kitchen drawer open 1/2 inch before going to bed. In the morning it was closed. I left my bedroom door slightly ajar. In the morning it was shut. I placed a glass upside down in the sink so I would hear if someone moved it. I woke at 6:44 again and heard the faint sound of ceramic touching metal. The alarm rang 1 second later. I checked the sink. The glass was upright. I called the building manager and asked if maintenance ever entered units without notice, and he laughed like the idea was ridiculous. I changed the locks anyway and installed a second camera facing the hallway. That night, I did not sleep. I stayed awake in complete darkness, watching the live feed on my phone. At 6:43 and 58 seconds, the hallway camera flickered once. At 6:44 exactly, the front door handle moved down slowly and returned to neutral without the door opening. I heard the breathing again. Then a whisper. My name spoken quietly, not from the hallway, but from somewhere behind the wall beside my bed. The whisper did not repeat. The alarm went off 1 second later. Both camera feeds froze for 13 seconds. When they resumed, the hallway was empty and my bedroom door was closed, though I had left it open. I moved out that weekend without telling anyone why. 2 weeks later, the building manager called to ask why I had left a storage box behind. I told him I had taken everything. He said no, there was one box under the sink in the bathroom. I never kept anything there. He described it as small, black, and taped shut. I told him to throw it away. He said he already had, but there was something inside that looked like printed screenshots. I asked, screenshots of what? He paused before answering. He said they were timestamps from a camera feed, all marked 6:44. I hung up before he could finish. I still wake up 1 minute before my alarm every morning, no matter where I am, and sometimes, when the room is quiet, I hear breathing just long enough to know it has not lost track of my schedule. The door didn't move. The fire didn't spread. The voice didn't scream. You were already late. Black,